Hello, and welcome back to Infinite Volume. I'm one of your hosts, Jane, and as always, I'm joined by.
Hi, I'm Nate. I'm here. This time I didn't fuck up the intro. Shout out. We're also joined by.
Hi, I'm Logan. I am also here.
Alright, well, I don't know where you got that cadence from. I feel like you kind of stole my bit, but
Not gonna
Well,
lie, I thought Logan was gonna go before you, Nate.
what? That's not how this works.
I
We
I
have
don't
a
know.
system. Can we not follow it for once?
No.
wait,
So
you
Okay,
want us
okay.
to
whatever.
Well, my
not
bad.
follow the system?
I mean,
Okay, whatever. So how was your week, guys?
pretty good.
Well, past 2 weeks,
Past couple weeks, yeah.
A
It's
couple
been a
weeks for
hot
us,
second.
yeah.
but I would say it was incredible. Specifically the concert day.
Yep, yep. You wanna lead the conversation on that one, Luke?
Yeah. So we live around the Boston area, all three of us, and if anyone out there is fans of One OK Rock, they did their North American tour in within the past couple months. I think they started it in May, the end of May. But North America tour started then, and Boston's was June 1st. So it was a very, very, very good night. They played at MGM Music Hall at Fenway, and something pretty insane happened. And I think we all regret not saying anything. At least I regret not saying something. But at the same time, we wanted to be respectful. But we were walking down the main street and we saw a couple vans that could potentially be the tour vans with the members in it, and we were like, "Oh, okay, they're probably in there. That's cool. They're right here." And then we went to walk over to Boston Burger Company restaurant down a couple streets down from where we were parked and walking around initially. And we walked on this like side alley street and we saw three giant tour buses there. And then we all started thinking, "Oh, this is them." And right as we said that, a security guard opened the door to one of the vans and the lead guitarist, Toru, well, I guess the only guitarist, Toru, stepped out of the bus, and we were all like, "What the fuck? It's him, it's him." And I wanted to say something, but at the same time I was like, he probably has something to do, and that's why he's leaving the bus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I feel like it should have just been a, "Hey Toru, we can't wait for the show. We're huge fans." And then if he wanted to continue the interaction, then that was up to him. But he might have just said, "Oh, thanks." I don't know. That
It
was insane.
was that
We
was a
walked
cool
past
part of
him.
the day.
We breathed the same air.
Jesus.
There was one time I went to go watch. So I'm a big wrestling fan, so I went to go watch
Hulk
Monday Night
Hogan
Raw
and shit.
one time with my cousin, and this one was in Providence. And we were walking. You know how there's that hotel that connects to what used to be the Dunkin' Donuts Center. I don't even know what it's called anymore.
I don't know
But
what hotel it is,
there's
but
a
I know
hotel.
what
There's
you're
like
talking
a
about.
fancy hotel that connects to it, and then it also connects to the mall and the convention center. It's like all interconnected.
Yeah.
We're walking out of the show, and we walk by a tag team, the Good Brothers, which is Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, which they're no longer in WWE. Think they now signed with TNA. But it was pretty cool. We were like walking out of the show and they were just standing there in the hallway.
Just chilling.
They were just chilling, yeah.
That's
Did
pretty
you
hype.
have the same sentiment as us, or did you go up to them and say,
Uh
"Hey, we're huge
well,
fans"?
it was like everybody was leaving at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So it was just
So
like
it's
a
kind of
giant
hard.
like mass of people was like, and then some guy behind's like, "Oh my god, it's the Good Brothers."
See, that's what I didn't want to happen. You know what I mean?
And
Yeah,
they're
that's
like
that's
waving at
kind
I
of why
forget
I
what
everybody.
I
if because
decided not to
Like,
say
we
anything.
"Yo,
were
what's up, guys?"
we were literally the only three people on that side street though, so it's not like it would have turned into
Yeah.
a Oh my
unless
god, take
because
pictures
it
with
wasn't like
everybody.
how do I explain it? It wasn't like the whole entire stadium was going with us. It was probably like the group I was with, are probably like 10 or 15 other people walking behind us,
Hmm.
something like that. So
I'm glad we shared the same sentiment. I also got a bunch of stories from other people after I explained it to them where they had the same starstruck experience. Not even just at concerts, but at like you said, sporting events and
yeah,
also airports. They saw like a movie star at an airport and then they just didn't do anything. Like they didn't go up to them.
bro. Yeah, like that stuff. Like I know with like wrestlers, they don't like listen. It's their day off. They're traveling. They're trying to go home and they're trying to go to a show. It's like
Hmm.
I was like, let them be. Like yeah, I know like with the younger people, like with the kids, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll take a picture. But if it's like if I went up to him at the airport, he would have been like, bro, get the fuck out of here.
You'd be like,
Like
you're too old. I'm not taking a picture with you, bro.
no, I've been like, but like like
That
you know what I
sounded
mean. They don't
kind
want
of
to be bothered.
Yeah.
us. Yeah, I get it. But yeah, that was the crux of my 2 weeks. That was awesome. Best concert I've ever been to. If they come back again, then the next one, I don't even want to say the next one would top it because Stand Atlantic being the opener was the icing on the cake. But
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to top that concert, I think, for sure.
unless they get I don't even, unless they get like Bad Omens and uh freaking Post Malone or something to open,
Oh, but I
like,
know him. I know him.
or unless they open
I'm
for
over
Post
here like,
Malone and then we get to see One OK Rock and Post Malone, and like if Post Malone does a rock album next instead of country, that'd be sick. But regardless, how
Yeah,
was your week, Nate? You had a couple
my
things to
week,
bring
Snake.
up.
I sure did. So it's been, I mean, sticking to the concert for just a half a second. That was me, you, and a friend of the pod, Justin, that went
Mhm.
down to Boston for that concert, and that was a lot of fun. I I don't get to get out an insane amount unless I'm doing like card night stuff with like Magic or if something comes up like my tooth breaking. That was awesome.
Hmm.
So getting to go down to Boston and just kind of have a day where we walk around, visit some shops, essentially bar hop from a place to place.
Yeah,
That was fun.
like Anime Zaka, and we found
you
out
guys
they had
Yep,
spend
yep.
gotcha machines.
Shout out Animazaka, and then I broke the gotcha machine.
Yeah, you freaking tried to put shit in the high Q one, and it was like, excuse me, I don't like that.
hey, they got
Yep,
you.
yep. They sure
Oh
did.
What'd you
my
guys do? Spend
god.
all your
Anyways,
time
and
in
now
Newberry?
Yeah, we
yeah,
did decent amount of time in Newberry. They had the buy one get one half off on manga, so
When
yep.
I go
we
up
Shout out
grabbed a
there.
to the
couple.
Oh,
famous.
I'm in like the Newberry district.
Oh,
I didn't
Oh
mean the
we're
store.
talking about Newberry
no,
Comics.
we're talking about Newberry
Well,
Comics.
well, you guys are Newberry Comics. You guys are Newberry, so
Okay, well there you go. We that's shout out to the famous infinite volume picture of Logan holding up the volume of Mob Psycho in anticipation for the Mob Psycho uh book club.
Wait, that's a picture?
Yeah, you
yeah.
don't remember? I took the picture of
Oh,
you
you took
holding
one
the
He
yeah,
sent
inside.
it
yeah.
to
Yeah,
me.
that's right. But I didn't have it. You didn't show my face in it.
No,
No.
I made it so that you blocked your face out with the manga volume.
You should
But
have made my face pop up above it and then Photoshop Mob's face onto my face.
Jesus.
Or I should have got a bowl cut.
It's
And
been a lot
then
of work.
Damn,
A lot of work.
that
should have went to
missed
the barber
opportunity.
shop before the concert, got a
Yeah,
bowl
just real
cut.
quick. We would have just
You
waited
were
in the
dressed
lobby
as
for you.
Mob.
Yeah.
um, we also the following weekend. So it's been 2 weekends since we've recorded. That was 2 weekends ago now. The following weekend we got together and watched Godzilla -1.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
fun.
Very good.
I'm not even like a massive Godzilla fan, but that was really exciting. I think that was maybe my first actual. No, that's not true. I watched the
The
like
Muto
American reboot
one.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But
2015
yeah,
Godzilla. I think it came out. Or maybe 2014.
around then.
One of those. One of those years.
But this was like a really good This was a good film. -1.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. That was cool. That was cool. We also like did some volleyball drills and stuff. Like that was a good day. That was a good day.
It was 2014, by the way.
2014. Sweet, sweet. Okay, there we go. I had to pull out my notes again. Oh, we got I guess I don't want to do this. I already mentioned Magic, so I guess I can briefly talk about this. The Final Fantasy set came out for Magic, and that was
Oh, it
also
came out today, right?
I think officially, yeah, today was the street date. Um, but I went to like the pre-release event for like just drafting and like playing and earning
Yeah.
packs and stuff, and that was a lot of fun. Uh, I usually hang out with a friend of the pod, Mel, and her homies every week or so, and we get together. We play Magic for a night, and getting to go with them to that event and getting a ton of new stuff to mess around with for deck building was a lot of fun. Big card game guy. This guy Nate is. Let me tell you, I
Hmm.
enjoy a good cardboard.
Cardboard?
A good cardboard. The Final Fantasy set's super cool. I
It
know
looks good.
a lot of people have complaints with the I think man, I don't
Tile
even know what they
place.
call them. It's like Universes Beyond, I think, is like the name of when they do sets that are like not magic based. But I think they're a lot of fun. Uh they open the door for a lot of creative like passives and stuff on and like a bunch of creative archetypes. Like you can have like a chocobo deck and like a Moogle deck. And you can also there's like a bunch of different decks. I think Cloud from Final Fantasy VII specifically has like a deck where you just attach a fuck ton of equipments to him essentially and just build off of just having him as a single character. It's a lot of fun. A lot of different ways to play the game. We got Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 this past weekend. That was fucking awesome.
I
I'm
can't remember
already
when I played the first two, but I know I did at
Deltarune.
some point years ago.
that
It's
is
Undertale's sequel, pretty
Undertale
much.
2.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Um I'm completely caught up now. Uh and we know for sure we're getting more Deltarune next year. I'm insanely excited. This at the man. Every time like not that I forget that Deltarune's an absolute banger, but like whenever I come back to Deltarune, I forget just how much better it is graphically and like in scope than Undertale was. So whenever I like boot up a chapter of that or I boot up a video of someone playing Deltarune, I'm like, man, this game slaps so hard. It always puts me in like a good vibe.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love when a game does that.
Very cool stuff from Toby Fox. Much love there. Uh, Jay,
Yes.
what happened? What happened to you the last couple weeks?
So the first weekend, I went to my first ever card show,
Oh heck
which is a
yeah!
lot of fun. Uh,
Did you see Cloud there?
no, no.
Oh wow.
I had a lot of fun. I'm going next weekend actually.
Okay.
So this one, the one I'm going to next weekend is a little bit bigger. It kind of comprises of mainly like the Providence area. Even though like the one I went to a couple weeks ago, it was a smaller one. You know what I mean?
Mm,
This one's more. It's everything. It's sports and trading card games.
gotcha,
Whilst
gotcha,
the
gotcha.
one I went to a couple weeks back was just. It was just strict. It was mainly Pokemon. And there was a couple like One Piece vendors there. A lot of fun. I did get a couple things, and I have the picture, which I'll have uh Nate bring up and post for you
Understood.
guys. Some of the cards I
Mission
some of the
accepted,
cards
I guess. It wasn't
some of
even
the
a
cards I
side
sent
quest.
in. And I did send some cards in for grading for the first time. I am waiting for those to
PSA?
come back. Yes, to PSA. So me, my friend Cameron, and my friend Gage, who is actually a fan of the podcast.
Heck yeah!
Uh,
Shout out.
we did a group submission. He sent a couple One Piece cards. My friend Cameron, a couple weeks back, he had pulled a the EVEX out of Prismatic Evolutions. It's like
You getting that one graded?
he sent that one in for grade, and he got a
Nice,
couple
nice.
other ones graded as well. So now we're just waiting for PSA. So it could be a month and a half. It could
Yeah,
be 6
freaking
months at
5
this
weeks.
point. I picked the 45-day option, so hopefully they're not too far behind on
Yeah.
orders. Don't know. And then where we live in like a large Portuguese community. So
That's
th-
one way
They're,
I
they're
describe
that
slowly
kind of just
getting
like
everyone's slowly getting clues on how to dox us right now. First I said we live in the Boston area, then Jayden's like, I went to a show in Providence, and now he's like, we live in a very
a
Portuguese
very
community.
Portuguese
Hey,
dense
I didn't
area.
hear down the city. Come on, okay.
That's true.
Not yet.
Now
But
now you're saying we live in a city.
True.
now
There's a
we
lot
go
of
down
towns.
my street.
I mean,
Yo,
wait.
yo.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Cut this. Cut it out. Cut it out.
Yeah,
Wait, no, you have
that
nothing to
one
worry about.
I might have to mute that one.
Yeah.
There's nothing to worry about.
Wait, I need to look up how big that place I just mentioned is. Because
Because
it
I don't
might
think
be a
Nate
lot bigger
lives.
than
But
we thought.
here's the real question: when I wake up 5 hours from now after recording this podcast to try to get this
You
episode
remember? Absolutely not.
edited and uploaded to YouTube, am I going to remember that Logan said that, or am I going to skim past it?
Oh, dude, we're good, bro. It's literally like
Okay,
Yeah.
bruh.
nah, you might want to cut that one out.
Okay.
Well, so we had a couple feasts. So like my church, they do their annual feast every year. So I went to that, and then um with me being Portuguese, I went to the Portuguese feast downtown, and they had the soccer game on for the Nations League final. Portugal made it, played against Spain. I ended up watching the game there. Thankfully, we won.
Oh,
So
heck
now
yeah.
that's 3 international trophies for Portugal in soccer, and
Nice.
then
Only
Club
3?
World Cup sorts. Yeah, we only have 3.
That's great.
Portugal was not good before Cristiano Ronaldo. We had qualified before Ronaldo. We had qualified a total of 3 World Cups and 3 Euros.
Oh my god.
So he definitely turned the country into a football powerhouse or a soccer powerhouse.
Just like,
Oh.
never mind. I'm not gonna bring that up.
So
Awashi?
going back to the
No.
trading card,
Yeah,
Awashi
just like
jump scare?
Awashi.
kind of like Awashi, yeah. So going back to the trading
Rematch?
card thing,
Sorry. Yeah. I'm getting excited.
that's next week. That's the next episode we talk
Yeah,
about.
Oh, we're
that's
so
that's
dude.
Monday.
That's
Hey,
what,
that comes
3
out
days
next
from
week.
now.
3 days, right?
Oh, 3 days.
So um I had been I've been getting back into trading cards, and I had seen this post on actually my friend Cameron sent me this post on Twitter, a Dragon Ball Super, their new set that's releasing, and it's like here I'll send it to you guys as well so you guys can take a look. The cards look amazing in it.
Don't forget to
I
send me
like
the you mentioned prior too.
yeah
Oh, that looks fucking awesome.
yeah a lot of these cards in the set look really nice, and they come out next Friday I'm pretty sure. So hopefully I can find
Man, I
some
don't want to
packs
buy these stupid
at the
fucking.
store.
I already
Don't buy
have
them.
so many Dragon Ball cards,
Don't buy
man.
them.
Yeah,
Don't
but
buy
then
them.
look how pretty it looks.
Yeah,
Don't
but
buy
these
them.
cards look nice.
Look how pretty.
So I'm
So, oh
hoping I
well,
find some packs.
That's an alt art.
Yeah,
So
these are the alt ones.
maybe I'll if those are like not that expensive, maybe I'll buy like a set of those and have just like a
I'll
collection of the alt
I'm
arts of
gonna
them. Because
hope
that's
that
if they're
some
all
vendors
manga
have it.
covers, that's so cool.
I hope
Or
some
chapter
the
covers or whatever
vendors
that is.
have it next week.
Yeah, fair.
Because I know when I went, because when I went was this Destined Rivals had released, and they had already had like Destined Rivals pulls already selling, like the day after its real
Mhm.
release. But yeah, I'm hoping to catch some of those, and then uh I ordered a lot of football cards, which I'm waiting for them to come in this week, so maybe I can get
Anyone
some deals
else?
done.
Anyone else think Android 16 has a weird ass design? I've always thought
Yeah.
this.
Hot take.
I like it. He just looks. compared to everyone else in I almost said Dragon Universe, Christ.
Oh,
In Dragon Ball, he looks I don't know, looks a
yeah.
little different.
That reminds me.
His real name would be Tyler for sure. He
Agreed.
looks like a
I
Tyler.
think we know his real
Jayden.
name. I just don't remember what it is.
Android 16.
Yeah. Android 16. There you go. What were you gonna say, Jay?
So I had decided this week that because my anime, I have like a lot of them I started, but I haven't finished. I'm actually really bad with that. So I decided I'm gonna not start anything new. I'm gonna try to finish the shows I have.
Good idea.
Currently watching. So I was gonna try to finish Initial D. Sadly, got taken off Crunchyroll.
Oh, that
Yeah.
sucks.
So now I have to go digging through the internet for it, which I don't recommend.
That recommendation definitely came from a place of experience.
And then I decided, no, well, I'm just gonna finish Super because that's the one I was closest to finishing. Anyways,
Where are you in Super?
I'm already at the turn. I'm like halfway through. Actually,
Tournament
I'm
of
right now
Power.
at the Tournament of Power. I'm at the point where now it's just Universe 11, which is Goku's universe, right?
Yes.
And then the one with Jiren. Well, that's 8. I
yeah,
think.
the 7?
Oh, 7.
No,
It's
I'm
one.
sorry. I think 7 is Goku's, and then Universe 11 is Jiren's. Let me double check though.
So that's where I'm at. Yeah, oh yeah. So Universe
Yes.
11 is Jiren's.
7
Universe
is
7 is Goku's.
Yep.
Okay. Vice versa, but still, I've gotten to the point where it's now just them. So it's getting pretty good.
Yeah,
That's
a
like
little bit left, but
124
fun
out of
stuff.
131, so pretty close.
He's
And
got
then I
some.
think I'll pick up the manga after that and try to, because I know there's more after the Tournament of Power.
There is. It's different. The manga is very different from
the anime.
Yeah, like things go. I guess the general flow of it, or not the general flow. The end result is the same, I guess, but the things that happen in the tournament are entirely different. Like it's written by a completely different guy.
Yeah. I think Toriyama only did the art, right?
This is a good segue. No, actually, it's done by Toriotaro, and they just had a panel somewhere the last couple of days where they were talking about it. I think they officially announced now that Toriotaro is taking over Super. Like he's going to continue
So
Super
he's gonna do
and
the
like
writing and everything.
Yeah, I think in the next week we're gonna get more details on that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Shout out to more Dragon Ball content coming our way, hopefully. And I hope and I pray that the animes returns at some point. I'm a little worried because like I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be a little weird because it's not gonna be. They're gonna have to make adjustments based on. They do two things, right? They either one make adjustments based on the manga's versions of events, or they try to keep it in line with the previous rendition of Super's events. So like they either try to make adjustments for the anime fans only, or they just pretend like the rest of the anime didn't happen and start fresh with where or how the manga handled things when it comes back. It'll be a good turning point, I think, regardless. But Logan, I feel like you were gonna say something and I may have cut you off.
I was gonna say that we don't know 16's real name.
Let's backing up real quick.
Nice. Yeah. Let's go back like 3 topics.
Listen, I wasn't listening to the first thing that you said right after that. Well, I know it was about Dragon Ball Super and Jayden. I tuned back in on
his eyes glazed over. Star Wars got mentioned. I understand. Yo, Spaceballs too? Question mark.
Yo, yeah, that did get.
That got announced like yesterday. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Logan, have you watched Spaceballs?
No, we still
gotta watch. Wait, dude, we gotta watch Spaceballs.
I have
That's
never watched Spaceballs.
What?
Either.
Oh my god!
I mean, I've seen clips of Spaceballs, but I haven't watched the
That
whole thing.
is probably my favorite parody movie of all time because for the longest time, for context, I mean, I guess the viewers know this one already, but I'm not a Star Wars guy, so like I watched Spaceballs without any context for Star Wars besides like, the basic like Joe Schmo knowledge of it. Like, yeah, I know who Darth Vader is and
Obi-Wan
shit
is
like
Darth
that.
Vader.
Yeah. And like Yoda is like Emperor Palpatine's right hand man.
Yoda is a
Um
what?
yeah. You didn't know that? Spoilers, sorry, my bad.
No.
I feel bad for spoiling that. But like Spaceballs, I like watched and enjoyed as like a thing. Like it was like a complete package. It was enjoyable from beginning to end, even if I didn't get every reference because it was just funny enough on its own. So I'm excited to see. I don't think this is going to be a good film. This like new Spaceballs thing, just because I feel like it's been way too long since the last one. But I would love to be proven wrong.
Well, this seems like a deal that we can make. We'll watch Spaceballs if you sit down and watch Star Wars.
All of Star Wars, bro. That's
We
that's
know,
not
like
a deal.
we'll watch it with you, but you know what I mean. Like
Bro just said, give me like if you take an hour of our time, we need a full
13
week of
hours.
yours. Yeah. Oh, well, we'll see what happens.
At
Maybe I'll
least
come
give
back to
it
the
a shot.
podcast and be like, I am the biggest Star Wars fan of all time.
I mean, if anything, Star Wars has some pretty great villain characters.
You know what's
That's a good point.
awesome? That fuck you because we didn't get to do the manga talk yet.
Well, we should just not do it this episode. Fuck it. This is like a
We
recap,
did.
life recap
Okay.
episode.
I'll
We're
push
literally
my
like
discussion
30
for.
minutes in, bro.
Yeah, we
Let's
kind
Hey,
of
go.
are.
there's nothing wrong with a nice long talk, small talk segment. Okay, we're having
Exactly.
a good time.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Okay, we'll go with your segment or your segue rather. It was a good segue.
Was it?
Jay,
Yes.
what are we talking about? What are we going on about?
We're talking about villains and what makes a good villain. So, for me personally, I like villains with a deep backstory and a good backstory at that. Because sometimes some types of media they don't really give like a backstory for a villain. And then I'm gonna talk about one from manga and then one more of a Western villain.
Okay.
So in manga, what I'm gonna talk about is Doflamingo from One Piece.
One Piece. Yep.
He has
Dopey.
very
That's crazy. You're not even there yet in the
yeah
anime, and you already know he's like a banger villain.
yeah. I like my friend Gage. He's a big One Piece fan, so we talk. He talks a lot about it. So I kind of picked up the thing. He's like, yeah. He's like, you're gonna love Flamingo, the Flamingo.
Yeah, I think Flamingo and Crocodile are
He
two of
told
the
me
best
he's like,
villains there.
yeah. He told me he's like, that's his favorite villain, is Doflamingo. And from what I've been told, he has a very deep backstory where he was born a something dragon, and which he was it was
Celestial
like an
Dragon.
celestial dragon.
Yep.
Um, and he was like it's the ultra privileged ruling class of the world. And his father for some reason gave up being one of the like the ultra privileged to live with the commoners. And then the people didn't like it, so they just attacked him and his family. So he ended up losing his mother due to when they were living in poverty, and he pretty much was traumatized, which kind of also leans into more Western one, the Joker from Batman. I
Bro's
think
really making a we live
DC.
in we live in a society reference.
No,
That's
no, no.
crazy.
Listen, but I'm talking about more of the backstory, and this is more with the Joker movie that came out a couple years ago, where
Okay.
it's like watching like how do I it gives you more of appreciation for him as a character watching that movie. Because it's like, we know the Joker, he's deranged. He's got all these problems, but we don't know like how he got to the point where he's just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna destroy everything. And watching that movie kind of gives you like, it gives you the information, and it's, I don't know how to explain it, but like, um I'm like, I can't even, I don't even know how to put it in words.
Just you get a good sense of legacy from them, and you
Yeah,
can
it kind
understand
of like with
where
Doflamingo.
their
It's like,
point is,
you
even if
know,
they're
like,
not in the right.
like with Doflamingo, you know why he is
Humanizing.
who he is,
Yeah.
and it's like that with Joker in the first movie, where it's like, you know who, like, he is the Joker because of these events that took place.
Writer spiel alert. Skip to hour and 45 in, listener, if you don't want to hear all this nonsense. But you make a very good point, Jay. Um, I like. Oh, first off, I never even considered comparing those two characters, but as you were saying it, I was like, yeah, you know what? Those are two villains that do awful, awful, awful things. Uh, you know, when we see them the most, but when we get their backstory, there is some ounce of like, okay, I can kind of understand where they got to that point. A good villain or a compelling villain is definitely like one that maybe we don't sympathize with, but like we can definitely understand how they, like, from a viewer's perspective, how they got to the place that they're at.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not saying like what he was doing was like,
Yeah,
was
yeah, but
good, but like,
that's what makes a villain interesting, though, right? Is when we can be like, okay, well, you know, it doesn't feel out of the realm of possibility for this character to exist, right? And that
yeah.
makes it more compelling for the protagonists to like go up against them, because then you put them in a bit of a moral gray area a little bit, right? And seeing how they react or interact with the villain's plot is a great time. Doflamingo specifically too, like, you explained his backstory pretty well. Uh, One Piece in general, pretty much for the entirety of One Piece, one of the major themes of the story is like social hierarchy and like people getting screwed over by the powers that be, and how that affects people not just on one side but both sides of the coin.
Mhm.
Uh, in At the point when we got Dofi's like backstory, we saw glimpses of good people in the Celestial Dragons, but we didn't really like for the most part, they were just like the most inhumane people of all time. Like they just like they were disgusting. They just had slaves all the time that treated other people awfully, got anything they wanted. Like the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, for Logue's sake here, trying to describe these people. Um, and when you get Dofi's backstory and you find out he used to be a celestial dragon whose dad chose to do what you would assume is the right thing and be like, you know what, we don't need all this. And then come down to, the normal society. And then just to be, because his society, his dad's society and celestial dragons and all that had treated everyone else so poorly, regular society didn't even give him a chance. And with it's like it's interesting to see the reverse of that dichotomy, like that it's so deeply rooted in that story's themes in like history that people can't just like change like that um without some like major event or something like that, you feel me? Like
Yeah.
it goes both ways, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That was something we really didn't, or like the hatred goes both ways for both sides of that, which isn't something we really saw until Dofi.
So with Doflamingo, was his dad was just like, fuck it, I don't want to be rich no more. Was that kind of like what it was, or was there like an event
Um,
that happened that were like,
I
or is that
can't
like too
remember.
much of a spoiler?
I can't remember specifically, but it was something along the lines of he wanted to just go to living in the normal world, and then all of the like people around them from normal society just are like just normal villagers and stuff, just fucking hated them and hated their guts for like what they stood for. So then like they like raid their house towards the climax of that flashback and like pin them up against their like roof and stuff and like burn them at the stake. I don't even remember how Dofi lives. I think he gets like conqueror's hockey or some shit while he's like a child just pinned to the wall, and then he like threatens to kill them all. But yeah, it's a good backstory. It's a good Dofi is insanely fun because he's an awful like human being in the
Hmm.
current timeline of the story, but like he cares very deeply for like his crew. So, which is like a big mafia family, essentially, or a big like crime organization family. Uh, and we got glimpses of him caring about those people prior to that flashback, but it kind of felt a little off because it was like, well, this guy is so evil and like so ruthless. It doesn't really make sense for him to care about anyone else other than himself. But then you get that flashback and you're like, okay, so he's not necessarily psychotic. He's just like horribly, horribly like tormented as a person who used to have like a family and stuff and like lost it essentially. So it was cool. It was awesome. Me likey, me likey. Good pull, Jay.
Thank you, thank you.
Welcome back, listener. I hope your eyes didn't glaze over there.
At
Were
least
you
we're
right
not
about the
talking about
timing?
Star Wars.
Yeah, well.
God forbid.
You were nowhere. You were not right about the timing at all.
Bro, we're an hour and 45 in, right?
We're 38 minutes in.
Well, in someone's perception
We'll
of
put
time,
it
we're
in
an
the
hour 45.
description. We'll put it in the description.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what I'm
I'll
saying.
do the first and only time
See,
we do chapters for a
kind
video.
of like a side note, I kind of feel like me and Logan, we talk about Star Wars, you glaze over. Me and you talk about One Piece,
Oh,
Logan glazes
glazes
I
over.
over.
glaze
You
over.
guys talk about
I
Haikyuu,
feel
I glaze over.
glaze over.
there's a little bit of glazing going on all sides for sure. Pause. Log, what do you what do you have for villains?
I think my favorite villain in most recent memory, but also probably just in general out of all the anime that I've watched and manga I've read. I was gonna say Johan, but I kind of wouldn't necessarily count him as like a villain character in like in the grand scheme of things, obviously.
Yeah.
But
He definitely is
in
the
the story
antagonist.
he is, but
Yeah.
another character that I think does the villain but also not a villain better than Johan is Askeladd from Vinland Saga.
Oh, yeah.
He is
Good.
like
Yes.
peak villain that you really want to hate, but you literally can't because
He's a good dad.
he's so good at just like actually raising Thorfinn to be better, even though he's not even necessarily this. He doesn't have the same ideology as his dad, but he's trying to make Thorfinn realize what Tors wanted him to realize without actually just straight up telling him. Like he wants him to realize it himself. And he doesn't care how many people he kills or anything because Askeladd killed his dad. But it's like, oh,
We're
he's
talking
so
about Vinland
good.
Saga, by the way, Jay. I don't know if you
Yeah,
picked up on that. Yeah.
I did pick up Vinland Saga.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
that's the
Askeladd
show I
is
have on my
Oh, it's so
plan to
good, man.
watch.
yeah, you
Uh,
should. And I guess Canoe is like a good second, but he's also
yeah,
like
Canute's like what?
kind of
Yeah,
a whatever.
Canute's
He's cool,
more
I
of
guess.
a concept that bounces off of Thorfinn, whereas Askeladd is like an actual. He feels like a character who lives in that world, whose ideals like clash with Thorfinn's.
Yeah.
Um, that's what is like a compelling villain, right? Like you can have a character stand for something, and then like have it go up against your cast, and then or like whatever, like you can have the bad versus the good, or like this idea versus that idea, but having a character that is believable and like likable, um, with the opposite idea or like a clashing ideal to your protagonist, that is like that's the moneymaker right there.
Yeah.
That is what really draws people in, I think, because that's like when you get something that is wholly unique. I think in writing, uh, when you can take two sides of something and like I'm trying to think of like a good. It's like having like a good debate, right? Like a good debate class or whatever the fuck. What are those called in college when like you debate squad? I guess
Debates.
like that. I don't know. I'm thinking
The debate
mock
club?
trial. I was thinking of the
Oh,
word mock trial.
yeah.
It's like having like a mock trial, but like a bunch of those. You can have like hundreds of those in a single story. In like small instances portrayed through your characters if you know what you're doing, what you're writing. And Askeladd's a great study into that because it feels like you said, it isn't necessarily that Askeladd's way of life is what he's trying to teach Thorfinn. It's that he understands what Thor's was trying to teach Thorfinn. So he chooses to teach Thorfinn those ideas despite not necessarily standing for them himself.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, which makes for a really interesting story for the first like
First
third
season.
of Vinland Saga. Which I wonder
It
if
literally
it's
is
got to be
up
almost
until
over now.
the last well, not the last episode, but very
Oh
close to the
yeah,
last
very close
episode
to
of the
the
first
first
season.
season. Yeah, that is like the whole first half of the anime for sure.
But it's just cool to see Thorfinn realizing slowly but surely that what he's doing was not what his dad wanted, but he gets so far into it by the time Askeladd comes around to the idea that Tors was trying to teach him that the sides kind of flip where initially Thorfinn was the one that was like, "Oh yeah, peace, I don't want to kill anyone. I want to solve things with my words and not but just because he was a
Well,
kid."
it was more
And then
so he was blinded by the idea of Vikings on paper that he wanted to go out and be a warrior, and Thor's was trying to teach him no, that's stupid. So when he sees what warriors are actually like over time, Thorfinn kind of like through Askeladd's teachings, or not, I don't even want to say teachings, just like through his actions, he kind of pieces together what Thor's meant.
well, I think
Because
that's part that's part of the beginning, but I'm more talking about the fact that later on when Askeladd finally realizes why Thorfinn, or I guess what he did to Thorfinn when he was a kid by killing Thors, is like he becomes the protagonist in a sense because he's trying to reverse what happened to Thorfinn when he was a
I
kid.
see, I get what you're
You
saying.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he puts himself in Thorfinn's shoes and is like, I get it now. I kind of get why this kid is just a complete menace on the battlefield. Like he's just trying his best to like shelter those thoughts that he had when he was a kid and not bring them out because this is the only life he knows now. And then Askeladd is like, maybe I should try to dig him out of this hole because he was a good kid when I first saw him, and now he's turned into this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a very complicated story for sure. Like you're not wrong that he definitely had he was a good kid. I mean he not that he has to be, but like it makes sense for where he goes later in the story. But
Hmm.
again, he also like one of the first major scenes is he what he like goes out of his way to get his dad's sword behind
Yeah,
everyone's back.
he finds it in the chest, or he opens the
Yeah,
chest.
in the chest because he just wants. And that was just what Vikings were. They wanted to be warriors. So like, it's a lot of that early portion is about like battling like destiny, I guess. Like you don't have to be what everything else around you says you have to be, I guess. If that makes
Yeah, the
sense. Like there's more
environment
to
doesn't
life than
shape the
that.
person.
Yeah. And Askeladd as a character does a great job informing Thorfinn of that.
Hmm. Banger.
Banger.
Jane, you gotta watch
Uh,
that. If we watch
yeah, sure.
Spaceballs and Nate
Then you
watches
have to
Star
watch
Wars, you
Vinland.
have to watch Vinland Saga.
Well, I'm already planning on watching Vinland Saga.
Okay.
That's the
That's fair.
difference.
That's good.
It is on my. It might not be on my anime list. Plan to watch, but I do plan on watching it.
Damn. Is it my turn now? Fuck.
Yes, it is.
Um,
Unless
I
Logan's
didn't.
got another one.
No, Nate can go.
I don't really know if I have a banger-ranger one. Oh, never mind. Kira from JoJo's Part 4.
Oh, I
Glad I
thought
took
you were
notes
gonna
on this
say
beforehand.
from Death Note.
No, not from Death Note. Uh, Yoshikage Kira, I believe is his full name. So I guess for some context, every JoJo's part is a little different. The theme of Part 4 is kind of like all the events that are taking place in the part are happening in this town called Morio. And it's kind of like I don't want to say a villain of the week, but it are like mystery of the week, but it feels like it follows this group of kids as they unravel a mystery that's happening in the town, and with every event that takes place, there's a little bit more of the breadcrumbs being like dropped, and like they're trying to figure out what's going on while also dealing with the current threat and stuff like that. So for the first portion of part 4, Kira isn't really mentioned, which I'm going to look back to that because that's important for where I'm going with this. And then once like the halfway mark of the story comes around for part 4, and we learn about Kira, he's essentially what he's set up as is he's a serial killer dude who is kind of living his day-to-day life in Morio just like anybody else. And then by night he like goes around like collecting hands from people. And like just getting rid of people he just deems, insufferable. Uh so we get like a cool contrast of this guy who is abhorrently like he's evil, right? Don't get me wrong. He's a literal serial killer. But when we get glimpses of him during the daytime, not I don't want to say daytime, nighttime, but like when we get glimpses of him in normal society, like he doesn't come off as a complete psychopath. Like his whole shtick is he kind of just wants to be left alone to do his own thing. So when people bother him is really when he goes after them. Uh And for part 4 as a whole, the whole gimmick of it is like this small town where all these mysterious things are happening, to have the villain be somebody who's kind of hiding in plain sight, if that makes sense. Fit really, really well. On top of his character, like as we learn more about him, from the reader's perspective, um, he kind of has to take the role of another person. He tries to hide from the main group because the main group is like on his tail. They're like catching on to him. So he takes over, like he disguises himself in another family. Like he kills off the husband of some family, and then hides in disguise as that guy. And as he's living that day to day life as that guy, um, he kind of like you get to see glimpses of humanity in him because he starts to fall for the wife of that guy, and like there's moments where he like kind of gets along with the people around him filling in that guy's shoes, and you're like, man, if this dude wasn't a serial killer, he'd actually be like a stand-up guy. Like he has glimpses of a great personality in there, kind of like bogged down by him being a serial killer.
Reminds me of Omni-Man from Invincible.
Kind of same vibe,
Like
right?
he
Yeah, no,
has
Him.
for
the
sure.
family and he's like really into the family, but all of a sudden it just turned out to be he doesn't, quote unquote, doesn't love his wife or his child, and then Mark is like, well, what are you for then? And he's like, well, I guess I kind of enjoyed it, but I can't really do this because I'm gonna have to kill everyone on the planet anyway. But then he doesn't want to because he actually enjoyed his time with them.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
It kind
He
of reminds me of Lloyd from Spy Family.
from Spy Family a little bit, except Lloyd's not a
Lloyd
psychopath.
No,
actually
yeah, yeah.
made
Except he's not a
yeah.
serial killer,
Yeah.
but he's like,
Lloyd's not like you. Fuck you, Anya. I'm gonna freaking shoot
All
you
right,
in the
Anya,
middle of the
I'm sick
night.
and tired of your shit.
Yeah,
no, but like the whole thing about like he ends up like actually liking the family.
Yeah.
yeah.
He
That part, that's what really reminds me of him. Not the not serial killer part.
it's they're good.
I
I
mean, he could be badass too. He could be
yeah.
the guy from JoJo's could be badass like Lloyd is.
Yeah, he is. Dude, Kira's so cool. He
Except one's a villain, one's a good guy.
thematically, yeah, well, you could argue Lloyd's done some
Yeah,
questionable
Lloyd
stuff
is a villain.
Yeah,
to some people.
to some people, yeah.
Kira's whole thing is like again, his whole shtick is he doesn't want to be bothered. So when he becomes the center of the mystery for the main crew, the whole driving force of the plot is him trying to run away, not run away, but like, cover his tracks and like stay far, far away. And his personality of wanting to just be left alone, um, and like to do his own thing as a person, not necessarily as a villain, uh, kind of informs the entire narrative for part 4, which I think my point, I guess, is it's a really cool way to, in a really compelling way to do a villain when that villain from beginning to end, whether or not you know they exist yet or not, is informing the story and things that are happening within the story, kind of behind the background. And once they do come into the main picture, still continue to do that sort of like cat and mouse game with the main thing in a way that's natural to the characters, like motivations and personality and all that, while also making them likable too. Like it was cool. He's probably my favorite JoJo villain out of the whole thing, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
He
I
felt
know
very
next to
human
nothing
in a weird
about
way.
JoJo's, but he sounds like he would be one of the better ones.
Very compelling. I mean, compared to fucking, we just came off the heels. We've had Dio for like, I guess he wasn't really a main contributing factor in part 2, but I mean, we had Dio twice at that point when we got Kira, and then we had the Pillarmen, and the Pillarmen were like essentially just like alien invasion, kind of like these are monsters essentially. So to go from vampires to Pillarmen to just a guy was super cool.
Mm.
It definitely shook things up in the formula. Jay, you got any other villains? Any other villarinos you want to bring up? Or just in general, what do you find compelling in a villain? Like, milk this topic for all it's worth.
I like milk.
Okay. Cool story, man. I had the a little bonus small talk while Jay thinks on this one. I had super super spicy chicken today, and I went to the fridge afterwards, and I just straight from the pint, dude. Like I just started down in milk. That shit sucked. It tasted awesome. It was like a nice Korean place that I got my lunch from, but like holy shit. I was not expecting it to be that spicy.
Yeah, that kind of happened to me too at Applebee's. I got sweet Asian chili sauce on my boneless wings, and I was struggling. I was like juggling in my mind whether to call them tenders or boneless wings because I swear there's like almost no difference. But
Mm, there is.
I
There
guess it's a
is.
different part of the chicken. I guess,
There
but
definitely is.
yeah, I know there's a difference. But
Nah,
I'm
it's
just
all
saying,
chicken
like
to me.
it's white meat and it's in a small form factor. It's just whatever, fucking whatever. I had the sauce on it. Took a bite. A little spicy. Unexpected. Didn't have milk. Drank water. Was fine. So Jane, you got a villain?
Oh, I did
There's
come up.
one.
I did think of one.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
Makima from Chainsaw Man.
Mm. Makima's an interesting one because I feel
Uh,
like it's
yeah.
hard. What do you got to say on that, Luke?
I was gonna say I think it kind of depends on when in the story you're talking about
Like
Makima.
the first part.
I kind of think I would prefer her later on. I
After she
I
turns
don't really
into
like.
after she gets reincarnated.
Yeah, I don't really like
See, I don't know that
Makima
much after
in the
that.
beginning of Chainsaw Man. I kind of think it's almost a cop out way of like, oh, all of a sudden there's just. It's basically as if Denji. She was created specifically to just get Denji into the fucking team into that team with Aki and
Mhm.
Power was just like a
Well,
nice
so
addition, I guess.
do you? You're an anime only watcher, right, Logue?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you cool with spoilers, or do you
Yeah,
wanna hold
I
off?
don't care. I don't think I'm even
Okay.
gonna watch the rest of Chainsaw Man, but
Makima is the control devil, so
yeah,
it
I know what
makes
her
Yeah,
ability is,
yeah. It
but
from the start, it makes sense that she's kind of like puppeteering everything. Um, I agree that I don't think like understand from her character's perspective why things happen the way they do and
mm,
why it feels forced sometimes. I don't like that it feels forced though. Like
yeah,
I'm in your
that's
camp. I think she is slightly a cop out. I do like her as a character though. I think she's interesting and like I wish she got a bit more character depth, if anything,
yeah,
outside of just, being a like being a wall for Denji to try and get over and then horribly fail.
yeah. I just feel a little. I feel the same way as you. That I think she needed a little bit more to her personality, other than just I'm
Yeah,
here to make things happen. You know what
she
I mean?
definitely exists just for Denji's like plot.
But nothing against your opinion, Jaden. I'm
Yeah,
just
Jay,
saying.
what were you gonna say?
well,
That's how I feel about Makima.
you know what? It's okay.
Bruh. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No, what
But
were
no,
you
I
gonna
think
say?
it's like this is kind of in contrast um to Doflamingo, where it's like we know a lot about like his backstory. We don't know
Mhm,
much about my Makima. She's very mysterious. Like I kind of like that about her at the beginning of Chainsaw Man because we didn't really know much that like she was like her plan for everything,
mhm. I
which
agree. I
and I
liked her more when she was more mysterious as well.
yeah, and then I didn't like you said it. I think it's just the way that it was written. It was kind of just like this needs to happen by this point, which kind of does suck. But I don't think that has anything to do with like her.
Her as a villain.
Yeah, with her as a
Yeah.
villain. I think that was just more of like I kind of feel like uh Shonen Jump kind of was like, hey, like let's try to.
They took the
This
axe
is, this
out
is
and
doing
they were
pretty
like,
good.
better speed it up.
No,
Yeah,
no.
better speed it up,
It's like,
pal.
hey, this is doing pretty good. Like, it's like, we want to. We're gonna word that an anime. They want to make an anime about this. So you kind of want to like get this arc done like a little sooner.
The current part of Chainsaw Man, I'm pretty sure I've said on the podcast before, is, for lack of a better term, is a goddamn train wreck. But like
Yeah.
that, the first part, like Makima's maybe not as complex as a villain as Doflamingo or Askeladd
No.
or Kira, but earlier I said a really good villain is like one that is in contrast or like is a different ideal to the main cast, so it clashes with each other and provides an interesting commentary or back
Mhm.
and forth. Makima more exists as the other thing I mentioned, as like she's a concept for the main protagonist to try and overcome, or something. Her in her existence is an antithesis to what Denji like needs, essentially, at that point in the story. Denji doesn't need a person like that in his life at that point. So when Makima shows up, I mean, we see that with the bomb devil, right? I
Mhm.
can't remember her name, but you know who I'm talking about. Like
Um.
when she shows, they're making the movie
Rezi or Reese.
We
about
lost
her.
Nate for a second.
Oh,
Rezi. Yeah. I don't know
Rize,
how to pronounce it. It's
Rize.
R-E-Z-E.
Yeah. Uh, she's actually like, despite the plot, like her interactions with Denji are pretty wholesome. Like she's actually a good fit for Denji. When it comes to love and like partner and all that. But like Makima Makima's character won't allow for that. So I guess in that way, she is a great villain specifically for Denji and nobody else.
I was just about to say it makes, or a good villain to compare Makima to would be Sukuna, because they're so integrated into the main cast that they're basically just ingrained in whatever is going on, regardless of
Mm.
whether it pertains to them or not. Because
And now that
Makima can just see a bunch of shit that's going on and just she's like the puppet master. And then Sukuna is basically like waiting in the shadows for a bunch of shit to happen, but also he does stuff when he needs
yeah.
to. Or when he can, I should say, not when he needs to.
um I guess as like a little brief bonus bit, I do want to bring up Sukuna because that is, now that JJK is done, um no spoilers or anything, but like he's kind of a genius character for shonen specifically because the shonen are like that the the power of friendship or whatever in shonen, and like trying to, ideally what you want is for the protagonist and the villain to come to some sort, they don't have to all the time, I say ideally, but one of the like more satisfying endings to a conflict of ideals or like an engagement between two different sides of the same coin is that both sides can end up seeing eye to eye and like understanding one another to a certain degree. For Sukuna, they he's so simple in terms of like he's just a demon. And like, I'm sorry, he's just a curse. Uh and even in the final fight, like when uh Itadori is speaking with Sukuna, and he's trying to be like, "Hey man, like I don't want to have to do this." Sukuna's like, "Hey man, I'm a curse. Like this is just how things have to be.
Mm.
I am evil, and that there is no two ways about it, despite what we see or like what we know about them." And I appreciate, like, from a shonen perspective, beautiful. I don't think you could have a better villain. It's like Kid Buu in the end of Dragon Ball Z, where like all the other villains up until that point had motivations to some degree, and then Kid Buu is just like the incarnate of evil
Like
in
bucket blue ball,
chaos. Yeah, like
spirit ball. Wait,
if you can have Spare Ball, Yamcha. Um, if you can have, I think about this a lot when I'm writing villains for DU. Uh, having so many different villains or antagonists that show up or characters in general that have different motivations that are so complex and like they're so involved with one another. Um, that's when a character like Kid Buu or Sakuna really shines, because then it makes the idea of a character who doesn't have any of that so much more terrifying, right? Because then it's like, if it's so easy for these characters to be so ingrained in the world around them, why does this character exist in the way that they do? To just not, like, they just go against the flow of everybody else, and that in of itself causes such a huge like ripple effect in the rest of the cast and the story.
like in I mean, I know we haven't seen it a lot in the anime, but it's very, or it's foreshadowed and hinted at that Sukuna definitely has a history with somebody in Megami's family. Um, do you ever find out who that is?
Uh, yeah, I guess
Is
it's
it's not
convoluted
Toji,
and
right?
fucking weird. Um, hold on. Sukuna has history with someone in Megami's family. Um, I don't remember. So I know that Itadori's mom is an important character, but it's fucking weird, man. I think like Kenjaku took over his mom at one point, but like it's not specifically, it's like one of those things that's not really stated from what I remember. This could be because I was reading week to week and I wasn't picking up on all the clues.
Hmm.
But from what I could tell, we got like a couple panels of it explaining it for very briefly in like half-assed, not half-assedly, but like, you know, in mystery terms, like, oh, we don't really know what happened, but like we're getting an idea of what happened, and then like they never really touch on it again.
Hmm.
Um, and like I think for Sakuna, man, I don't even remember if he does have any relation to Megami. I'm not sure. It's been a
Because
while.
I remember in the anime when it was after they defeated the special level curse or whatever, like the snake looking thing with the four eyes in the alternate dimension that they get put in with all like the pipes and hallways and the pools and shit. Um,
What?
you remember when all
In
three
what
of them got
season?
transported in the first season?
Okay,
When
when they're
all
in
of
the
them got
prison?
transported into the like domain, and then the guy, their like spirit advisor, is like calling Gojo like, "Yo, there's a fucking domain here. I didn't
Yeah.
anticipate this." Yeah,
It's like their first mission, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like
I
they
know what you're
all
talking
three of them
about.
together, and
Yeah.
then Kugisaki gets like knocked out or lost or whatever, and then when Itadori gets um hurt and then he passes out, it's when Sukuna like threatens to rip his heart out. Remember? And then Megami, or like he does it, and then he looks at Megami, and Megami like calls his dogs out, and then Sukuna's like, "Oh shit, what's up with this one?" And then he like has that, yeah, he has like a moment of realization.
So,
Makes it made me think that like he
okay.
had some sort of connection to him.
He I'm going to refuse to tell you why that happened, because it is a major, major spoiler for the next season. I
Oh,
think
okay.
either the
Well,
next season or like the season following, depending on how they choose to do the anime. But there's a reason why Sakuna looked at Megami that way. That's for sure. Things go down.
he's his son. No, I'm
Oh
kidding. Okay. Oh, he's allergic to dogs. That's why
yeah,
he.
there you go. Yeah.
Okay. I understand now.
I
Gotcha.
don't, wow, I
Then I
forgot
will.
that's such a major part of the last arc, and I completely forgot it happened.
Well, I'm glad I brought it up then.
Yeah, thank you. I remember now.
You're welcome.
Well, I guess we can start wrapping things up if there's no other villain talk.
Yeah,
We've had
that
a
was
good run today, I think.
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, Jay. Not Jay.
Yes.
What? Never mind. You don't have an indie
Oh.
recommend. Logan has the indie recommend. Why am I coming to you? Get out of here! Start swatting your fucking cat away.
Yes, I do have the indie
Badoo.
recommend for this week.
Leaves Discord.
Screws up the entire recording. We have to
Yep.
redo the episode. So my indie recommend. I can't remember how I found it. I think I might have just been searching like the newest manga on Global Comics. After this was like a couple days after finding Scarlet Vagabond, which I think was that one last episode or was that Battle Rose last episode?
I think Battle Bros might have been the last episode.
Yeah. So Scarlet Vagabond. Oh yeah, because that's the one I edited.
Yes.
But Scarlet Vagabond. Okay, so from 2 episodes ago, Scarlet Vagabond. I guess 3 because Awashi, the book club, that doesn't have one. So 3 episodes ago, Scarlet Vagabond. Read that 2 or 3 days later. I found This Neck of the Woods, which I don't think it has any other chapters, if I'm remembering
I think it has
correctly.
3.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, or at least now it does.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it does. Cool. Yeah, well, they came out after I read it. Yeah, May 27th and May 29th. So I have not read chapter 2 or 3. But chapter 1, it's about this girl who has little fairy friends, and her car breaks down in the middle of the woods, and she doesn't have her phone isn't charged, so she hitches a ride with this man that seems innocent enough, but she obviously has doubts about it. And then she goes to a gas station with him, and he asks the clerk if she could use his outlet to charge the phone, and he's like, nah, bro, I can't do that. And then he gets like angry and shit. And then they go back into the car, and he's driving her a little bit further down the road. And I'm not gonna spoil what happens next because I think it's a pretty important part. I'm sure you can garner what I'm actually leaving out a part that he brings up his backstory and like what he did as a kid and one of his favorite songs as a kid, and it kind of foreshadows to what happens later on. But I thought he was gonna turn into a werewolf, and that's not what happened at all. At least not in the first chapter. I don't know if that happens in the second or third, but it was pretty cool. I liked the first thing that I liked about it was the art style, and it's very charming. I didn't expect it to be like a horror-ish or like a thriller, but that's what it turned out to be, and I liked it more for that.
It was pretty cool. Logue walked me through it after he had found it, and I agree. I think this is a very neat little indie project going on. I mean, it had one chapter when you found it, and now it has 3. So maybe I'll catch up on it and give my take next episode.
It was posted by Swampy Art.
Understood. Mark that one down, folks. You too, Jay. I see you over there.
Okay.
Well, does that bring? Thank you, Logue, for doing the indie recommend. By the way, always appreciated. Does that bring it back around to me for next episode's topic, or is next week Mob?
Oh,
Do we want to give an extra week for Mob and then do one more?
yeah. 'Cause
Yeah, I'm on
Yeah.
chapter 30.
I really haven't been
31?
reading, so I do have to
Yeah.
get back on top of it. I haven't
Let's
read
let's see. What do we
a couple
got for the?
days.
Let's look at this document real quick.
I don't think it was next week. I think it was the week after. We were playing on the 27th, 28th.
I thought we were planning on last week,
Listen, man, don't worry about it.
but it's okay.
Oh,
Oh.
Psycho good. It's surprisingly like almost funnier in the manga than in the anime, to be honest.
Funnier, you say?
Yeah, I think
Why
it's
don't we
funnier
do
than the anime.
what makes things funny? Natural and natural
That's
and
a good
realistic
idea.
character interaction / synergy.
That's a great idea,
It is
actually.
a great idea. Thank you. Thank you. I thought of it. I wrote it down on the
that's a
doc.
great idea.
But no, on a serious note, yeah, I actually do think the comedy hits a lot better in the manga just because of how the art is. Like, it feels a lot more nuanced in the manga. Like, you can tell what was supposed to be a joke and what wasn't.
Yeah, and also, I don't know how good the English dub is. I'm assuming they probably
I
cast
think
some good
people
voice
love it.
actors. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm sure a comedy based. It's same with One Punch Man. Like they probably cast good voice actors for the English because they know it kind of relies on having good uh voice play and tonal like tonation in your voice.
What? I don't know about that. You could have
Pause.
worded that a little bit differently.
What? What do you mean?
Voice play?
Voice play
Yeah,
Because I've
what is
heard
sounds
that?
that.
correct.
What? How does that sound incorrect? What do you
No,
mean?
don't. I don't want to edit this video any longer. I'm talking to myself
But
in the future. Um,
but yeah, it's the jokes kind of make me laugh a lot more than when I watch the anime for Mob. And also, I think I told you about this off the podcast, but um yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say because you've berated me for saying voice play.
Jesus,
Um,
stop saying that.
it's what a bad thing. I don't understand.
Well, you have
Oh,
to just
I
remind
forgot.
us off the podcast again
Yeah, it's okay.
and
You
leave
can edit
everyone in
it in
suspense.
after. I'll just clip myself saying it, not even to you guys, and then you can
Just
put it in.
understandable. Well, guys, it's been another successful episode, I think.
Oh, I remember what it was.
Okay,
It was
awesome.
that
Have a good
it was
No kidding.
it was that Mob is more of a shithead in the manga. Like
Oh
he
yeah,
talks more and is like he's like, "All right, what the fuck? What do you mean? Like, are you kidding me, bro?" That's the
yeah.
vibe
He's
he
a
gives
shitter
off.
in the manga compared to in the anime. I feel like he's more antisocial in the anime,
Yeah. It
which
also
is
works,
interesting.
but the manga
Yeah,
definitely makes him more of a fleshed out comedy character. Like he actually adds to the comedy instead of
yeah.
being the butt of the joke. Okay, have a good
Oh God. Oh,
Okay,
have a good
guys.
everybody.
Okay, have a good.